Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome back. Discussions
We're
and
talking about
Dragons.
yeah, we're talking about something else today. Something
Yes.
different.
Well, same Unearthed
Well, we'll see.
Arcana, different subclass.
Also, we might talk
Um,
about other subclasses as well, and
oh
other
yeah,
classes as
we
well
will go
later.
off the rails as per normal, but I'm sure I will timestamp these. I've since peek behind the curtain since recording the second one. I don't know if it would be out by the time we're recording this one, but I have timestamped it, and we spent about half the time actually talking about the subclass, and the other half talking about semi-related but unrelated stuff. But
Mm.
all D&D. So if that's probably what you're here for, is the
Yeah.
dungeons and all the dragons.
hmm That's what I'm
Uh,
here for.
yeah. So this is a warlock patron. Might as well start off with warlocks in general. Chad, what do you know about warlocks and what do you think about warlocks?
I never played a warlock. Have you played a warlock?
Uh, no, we've had several warlocks, I think, in our
Mm.
campaigns.
I have made more warlocks than any other class because I've assisted people like coming to D&D, especially a lot of first timers, and I will tell you, warlock is probably the longest character creation. I think Warlocks is the longest character creation class in the first place. There's a lot of choices to make it first level,
Yeah,
but also it's like one of the hardest ones to teach a first level player with or introduce to character creation. There's just so many choices to make.
yeah,
Just tell them just go with fighter. You choose a fighting style and a race, right? That's it.
yeah.
With Warlock, it's like, okay, what's your patron? This is how spells work. Have a look at your cantrips. Have a look at your spells. I
And the
mean, and then
extended
if you're starting at
spells.
level 2, then you get your invocations as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So
Yeah, but it does
a
seem to
lot.
attract a lot of newer players. I think there's something
Yeah.
about like the Eldritch power that I think a lot of new players kind of do enjoy. Um,
It's a little edgy.
yeah, there's a little bit of edginess in there, which is nice. What warlocks have we had? I'm trying to think.
Liam's second character was a warlock.
We had Liam's second character. I think Trier has played a warlock.
Trier he played Kaladin as a warlock.
Yes, that's true. We haven't had warlocks very long,
Uh,
I suppose. And I know
mm,
and most of them, well, Liam's just went down to Eldritch Blast sniping
mm.
without much else.
And
That's
that,
that
like,
is one of the core complaints, isn't it? It just becomes
yeah,
Eldritch
but that's
Blast
like
swings
complaining about
around.
your ranger or your fighter. Like, oh, my fighter doesn't swing his
It's
sword,
true, yeah. I guess some people would
or my
like
ranger doesn't shoot his bow.
more from the warlock, like the actual patron part, but that is more up
Yeah,
to
I
the
guess.
DM more than anything. Like, how is the DM
Mm.
gonna
I mean,
work
I
with
mean,
your
like
patron? Is he
I,
gonna?
I said to you before as well. Like, pretty much nothing of the patron is mechanically enforced. It's all just flavor.
Hmm,
Like there aren't in the same way there aren't specific rules really about a paladin breaking their oath and stuff. It's all kind of like left to the discretion of the DM.
yeah,
There's no specific rules about like what your patron is supposed to do or what
yeah.
your relationship with your patron entails.
Yeah, because one of the things I see a lot on some of these is like, oh, if you lose your pact boon, you can just spend an hour getting a new one.
Uh,
It's like that seems like the patron would be like should reprimand you. But again, that's all flavor. That's not got nothing to do with the rules. That's just how
and
warlocks
I'm
kind of should be
sure
played.
a lot of people probably do get reprimanded
Yeah,
by their patron if the DM wants to play it that way.
yeah. But again, like you say, you don't have to do that at all. There's nothing in the rules that say.
Mm.
Nothing in the rules that says a dog can't play basketball. Nothing in the rules that says a
It's
warlock
true.
has to give a shit about their patron.
Oh
Um,
yeah, for sure.
but I do kind of like
Right.
warlock, and some of the other pacts are pretty cool. But today
Mm.
we'll talk about the Noble Genie. We'll relate it to the other pacts eventually, I'm sure, but we'll get started, I suppose.
The
Uh,
pact is that the patron? The pact
yeah,
boon
they.
is the other
Oh,
thing.
there's pact magic. What's it called? Otherworldly patron.
Yeah, otherworldly patron.
And pact magic is just
Pact magic is
it's just how you
it's
get
just the name
spells.
of your spell casting. But then you got your pact boons, which are like pact of the tome and pact of the chain and
Oh
stuff.
yeah, there's pacts
Yeah.
and there's deals and there's patrons and all sorts.
We got a lot of stuff warlocks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
got a lot of gifts.
Hmm.
But we'll start with the Noble Genie. You made a pact with one of the rarest of genie kind, a noble genie. Such entities are rulers of vast fiefs on the elemental planes and have great influence over lesser genies and elemental creatures. Noble genies are varied in their motivations, but are all arrogant collectors of creatures, knowledge, and treasure. A genie values their collection and will protect that which they claim ownership over. Through your connection to the noble, you can leverage their influence and extend their ownership of things in the multiverse. Which is
What do you?
it's a shorter flavor compared to the other ones we've been through.
Is it? Oh, okay. In terms of the other subclasses we
Yeah,
looked
the
at already,
other
yeah.
subclasses we've been through today. Today on this Unearthed Arcana.
Yeah.
But I think they are all fairly snippy. There's no like examples here or anything.
That's true. That's true.
But it seems like it's fairly open.
Yeah, it is. It is really weird because, like, I never feel like maybe it's because I haven't really looked closely enough at a lot of them. I never feel like the patrons really like give you stuff that influences you carrying out their will, right? Like, I would have expected the stuff the fiend gives you and the wants and desires that the fiend has, and you're like doing their bidding. That would benefit you specifically to following their demand or something. But I'm not really sure I get that. A lot of the time, it's just like, okay, they're giving you powers that make sense to a fiend, right? Like,
Yeah.
you get powers that a fiend has. I guess makes sense.
Yeah. Again, goes back to all the flavor stuff. Like with that one, most of that is going to come down to you and the DM and working out a story around it. There's nothing really in the rules that says specifically
Dog can't play basketball.
like with the Noble Genie here. It's saying obviously they want to collect stuff. They're collectors, and they want to protect their collections. So you would think like, they'd give you, I don't know, a bag of holding which teleports all the stuff you put in there to them, and the more you put in there, you get something back. But again, there's nothing in the rules here. That's something that you and the DM can come up with. I guess that leaves it open. I mean, but also maybe too open. I guess.
Maybe. Yeah, it is strange. Like, with a lot of subclasses or different mechanics in general, you can completely reflavor them and they still make sense. But like the flavor is good when the mechanics really tie in well with it to the point that it's not that it's difficult to reflavor. I guess that was a complaint about the monk, right?
Yeah.
But like, I feel like the paladin one, it can be reflavored, but it also works really well with the flavor that it's given.
Yeah, I think the complaint we had about the monk overall was basically like the base monk is so much of the flavor that the subclass doesn't really change much.
To be honest, I kind of feel like that's the same way with paladin, though, right? Because you can't really do. It's not a complaint we had about the paladin, but paladin is pretty pigeonholed into a similar thing, right? But it's just because it's such a core component of medieval fantasy, like Tolkien-inspired fantasy. Well, I guess there's no talents in Tolkien. D&D stuff. Yeah. It's so ingrained in that you kind of.
I guess the difference is there's a lot more you can kind of do with the religious aspect when monks feel like they're very much like changing the religion can change a lot about a paladin, about how they dress, about how they talk, about how they act, about how they perceive themselves and how they perceive the world. Just comparing real life religions. When with a monk, the monasteries feel like the base stuff is going to be the same. Like it's always, they're going to be in grand temples. They're going to be practicing martial arts in big groups outside and being synchronized. They're going to be bold or something. I don't know. Like I don't know. That maybe it's just the fact again, like going back to monk, that we're not creative enough and don't know enough about that kind of space. But yeah, there's something between those that is different. And the Warlock as well, going back to the one we're talking about, there's the patron and who you are very separate. You can be literally anyone and have a patron. Like with a paladin, you have to, you're probably going to be religious and you're probably going to be a knight of some knight type person. A monk, you're going to be a monk type person. A wizard, you're going to be scholarly potentially.
Potentially,
but a warlock can be anyone. Like that, I think that's probably what attracts a lot of people to warlock. It is a fantasy element of I was just a normal person trying to get through life when I was granted gifts. And really that person could be anyone. And
yeah, I think you're right about that. I think one of the issues I have with the warlock in general is that I think there's a weird sense of like expectation of what people expect a warlock to be compared to the other classes. I think everyone knows what everyone knows what a paladin is, and when you get into a paladin, they have a good sense of, okay, I've seen paladins in other games, or maybe not so much like other media. I guess you got knights and stuff, but I have an expectation of what a paladin is when I get into that. I kind of feel like you don't really get that as much with the warlock. A lot of people might not really feel like the class plays like they expected it to. And I think that's where a lot of the oh, I'm just spamming Eldritch Blast comes from, right? Because they were
Yeah.
expecting to do something different.
Yeah.
Especially if you come from like, obviously, like everyone we know has come from WoW, right?
Yeah.
And Warlocks are very different in that.
Yeah, Warlocks are definitely more like actual spellcasters. They're basically a mage subclass, really.
Kind of, but not even to they don't get nearly as much as they can't do nearly as much as the mage can do. They're way more focused generally, like mechanically, on like Eldritch Blast than they are on their other spells.
Yeah, well, I was talking about like the WoW version of a Warlock.
Oh, sure, yeah.
What people think they're coming into is going to be more of a spellcasting, like disease spreading, cursing person. When really, that's not the important part. The important part is that it's the patron link, which is what makes you a warlock. And yeah, maybe it's the fact that from our experience, people coming into playing warlock are thinking they're going to be casting loads of spells and then realize, hang on, I get 2 spell slots, and that's it. Like what am I going to do? Like, do I actually get into combat? Because that sounds like not what I want to do. I wanted to cast spells. Again, this is something that you could actually do when we talked about sorcerers could technically feel like they have a patron. Wizards as well. You could be a religious wizard. You could kind of do something like that. Yeah, the warlock I think is more, I guess, open. The origins of why you're a warlock are more open.
I almost feel the class should be called cultist or something.
Maybe
I feel like that does a better idea of like
acolyte.
putting the idea across in a word. Acolytes are like religious. Like acolytes have background already.
That's true.
That suggests
it's just if you say, "Oh, I'm a cultist."
Yeah, of course. In the same way
that
the rogue used to be called thief and got renamed, right? It's definitely a loaded name.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's like a good name to have in the same way I don't think thief is good for rogue, but I also do think it would actually get across like the idea of the character a little better than Warlock does.
Yeah, Warlock is a cool word though. That's the one of the things.
It is. I mean, yeah. They all kind of mean the same thing from like old folklore and stuff. Like Warlock, sorcerer, and wizard. Anyway, kind of. Anyway, should we look at this subclass?
Yeah, we kind of talked a lot about. There was a very small amount of flavor there. We talked about a lot just in general, but let's move on to the expanded spell list.
Okay, this is going to be interesting because we've got nothing to go on of what this spell list should really, in a direction that it should theme us. I think like the fiend, you're going to get a lot of fire related stuff and like charming people and things because that's what fiends do, right? Or the Archfey is going to be a lot about like illusion and nature.
So, for example,
I don't know what we're going to get for a genie. I don't feel like that's quite established trope.
If I have a look at the Archfey, Fairy, Fire, Sleep, Calm Emotions, Phantasmal Force, Blink, Plank, Growth, Dominate Beast, Dominate Person, Great Invisibility, Seeming, very much Fey. Celestial gets basically pretty much all cleric spells: Cure Wounds, Guiding Bolt, Flaming Spear, Lesser Restoration, Daylight, Revivify, Flame Strike, Greater Restoration. They get Sacred Flame. Fiend, Burning Hands, Fireball, Wall of Fire, Flame Strike, Stinking Cloud, Scorching Ray, Command, Blindness, Deafness, makes sense. Great Old Ones is all Dissonant Whispers, Dominate Person, Evar's Black Tentacles, Hideous Laughter, Phantasmal Force, Detect Thoughts, all makes sense. Hexblade, Smites, and Smites and Shields, Blinks and Blurs, all fine. Lurker in the Deep, which is a UA, but it's possibly my favourite. Gets a lot of creating water, controlling water, lightning bolt, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Communal nature.
Before reading the spells that the genie gets, what would you expect a genie to give you? Wish?
Well, that's the thing. The only thing I really know about genies is wish.
Right.
And that they're elemental based.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't really expect them to give you elemental spells.
Sure. I mean, I guess we'll see what we get and see like how...
Yeah. Noble Genie lets you explain what the spells are. First level, you get Fog, Cloud, and Sleep. Second level, Enlarge, Reduce, or Phantasmal Force, and Phantasmal Force. Create Food and Water, Protection from Energy, Polymorph, Phantasmal Killer, Big Beast Hand, and Creation. I think that makes some sense.
Some of it makes sense. Creation makes a lot of sense.
Creation
right?
makes sense. Big Beast Hand makes sense.
I think Enlarge and Reduce makes sense.
Polymorph, Phantasmal Killer. I can't remember what that is, to be honest. It's a cool name for a spell, but I don't remember.
It's an illusion thing. I think Phantasmal Force makes sense as well because that is like creating an illusion around something.
Create Food and Water. That is basically that's a boon. That's creating a gift for you. Protection from energy.
I think creation. I think things that create stuff and change stuff. So conjuration and transmutation make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. So I think second to fifth make a lot of sense. I think Fog, Cloud, and Sleep.
Folk Cloud, I guess, makes sense. Like genies are like heavily associated with like being partly.
Yeah, but that's just because they are partly cloud. I wouldn't really.
Yeah, but like, what other first level spells would you do instead?
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest. Can't really think of a first level spell that you'd give.
I'm gonna like look at first level wizard
Yeah,
spells.
I mean, I guess these make sense, and they are outside of whether they make sense for Noble Genie. I think they're all quite good, to be honest.
I hadn't actually analyzed them. Folk Cloud and Sleep are both. Well, you got to remember that as a warlock, you're not getting these spells for free. You have to select.
Yes, and also the fact that
Folk
you will
Cloud
cast
is a
these
good
at whatever spell slot you have. So
Yeah, Full Cloud is a good spell, as is Sleep at the very first level. So getting access to Sleep at level 1 is pretty good, but you'll definitely swap that out.
yeah,
Fog Cloud, I just don't think you pick Fog Cloud when you've got so few other spells. There's just so many other better things to take. Um, a large majority, like what's a Warlock taking? A Warlock has so few spells. They're probably taking like a spell that lasts a fight. I think Polymorph is a good one. A spell that lasts a fight that they use their concentration on, and then they start blasting. Right?
yeah.
So anyway, I start blasting.
Wait, so I
So,
blasting.
polymorph makes a lot of sense because you're getting it back every short rest.
Yeah,
And if you're doing like a bunch of fights through a dungeon, you're getting 4 short rests. That's a lot of fucking polymorphs that you're getting.
Can you upcast polymorph to affect more people, or is that not a thing?
I don't think so.
Because obviously you'd be casting at 5th level.
No, there is no outcasting polymorph as far as I can see. Enlarge and slash reduce makes sense. Maybe even Phantasmal Force. You want concentration spells, basically, right?
Yeah.
I don't think you ever fucking take Create Food and Water unless
No.
it's a really specific campaign.
Unless you're really going into the flavor of the Noble Genie giving you
guess.
you gifts for gifts, like you find stuff, therefore you get to he gives you food and water, and creation as well is another one of those, which is like, oh, Noble Genie, oh, I wish I could cross this bridge, and then a bridge is made through creation.
Yeah.
Whether that's more flavor than use. Bigby's Hand, I like Bigby's Hand as a spell, and I think it makes sense here, and you might use it. It's like it's basically a super fancy spiritual weapon, really, isn't it?
Sure.
And you can flavor that as being the genie punching things. Just imagine like the Aladdin genie.
I think that's good for sure. Yeah, I don't think anything particularly stands out as being like bad here.
Yeah.
Like not at all useful. Protection from energy maybe is a bit strange. But I guess that is an elemental as well. So that's more our lack of understanding of what genies are in the D&D universes.
Yeah, I guess one thing you got to really think about is not to just think of genie and go Robin Williams from Aladdin. You go, like, there's more to genies in lore than just Robin Williams Disney character.
Unseen Servant might have been a good first level one.
Potentially, yeah.
Tensor's Floating Disc makes a lot of sense if you're supposed to be collecting treasure for them. Other than that, I'm not really seeing anything that I think. Arms of Hadar? No, I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, it's good. It's fine. Yeah. And it's functional as well.
Yeah, cool. Collector's
I'm
Vessel.
happy enough with it for how I think difficult it is really to nail down what spells you would take. I think they did a decent enough job.
Yeah. Collector's Vessel. Your patron gives you a magical vessel which you can bind a creature to you and to your patron's menagerie. The vessel is a tiny object and its spellcasting focus for you. You decide what the object is, or you can determine what it is from this table. Oil lamp, urn, ring with a compartment, stoppered bottle, hollowed statue, or ornate lantern. It's very standard. If you lose this vessel, you can perform 1 hour ceremony to receive a replacement from your patron. The ceremony can be performed during a short or long rest, and it destroys previous vessel. The vessel vanishes as player of elemental power when you die. As an action, when you are holding the vessel, you can target a willing creature you see within 100 feet of you and create a tether of wispy elemental material that links the target to you. Tether lasts for an hour, until you use this feature to create another tether, until the bound target is reduced to 0, or until the target ends its turn more than 100 feet from you. While you are tethered to the creature, you gain the following benefits. You gain bonus to your wisdom checks, equal to your charisma modifier. When you cast a spell, you can deliver the spell from your space or the bound creature space. You can create the tether a number of times equal to charisma modifier, and you regain all uses when you finish a long rest.
This is weird.
It's a bit. It's basically making a party member a familiar, kind of, with the spellcasting stuff.
I suppose it is. You tether the creature, you gain a bonus to perception check, And
Equals
when you
equal
cast
is
a
the
spell, you
modifier.
can. Okay, well, for having said the mechanics don't really support the flavor, I guess I never really read closely to the idea is that you're making this other person, you were giving this other person to your patron, kind of, right? Is the idea?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it does say like you're binding them to your patron's menagerie.
Hmm.
So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, there's an extra
Almost.
little bit here. Collector's Vessel and Pact Boons. When you create a tether to your Collector's Vessel, the tether takes on the form that reflects your patron's type of genie kind. Swirling Mist for wind, Sand reflects a rock for rocks, Smoke and Embers for Afriti, and Foamy Water for Marid. That's one thing it was also as well. It's the Genie, Deo, Afriti, and
Hmm.
Marid. They're actually different types of genie. When you
Yeah.
gain the Pact Boon feature at third level, if you choose a boon that grants you a physical object, your vessel transformed into that object. For example, a Warlock whose patron is a Noble Afriti and chooses a pet to the toe might find their bottle transformed into an elaborate scroll made of red dragon's wing with brass and iron rolling rods. Sorry about the stumble there.
Roiling rods.
Yeah, so essentially
Um,
later on when you take Pact of the Blade, Pact of the Tome, that becomes this vessel.
is the vessel supposed to contain your patron?
I,
Or is it supposed to contain like a link to their
I think it contains a link to
claim?
them. I think the genie in the lamp is a trope, and I guess it is based on lore.
Well,
But
it's
I
called
don't
a
know if
vessel,
that's
is the
I don't
thing,
know if
right?
that's the I don't know.
I would imagine it's supposed to link to the genie's claim.
Yeah, I guess that because it binds a creature to you and to your patron's menagerie using this vessel. So I guess
Yeah,
inside that vessel is a way into their plane.
yeah, and likewise, it's a way for them to kind of like, express their will into the
Yes.
material plane through that. I mean, that's how it's a spellcasting focus for you as well,
Yeah.
right? So
Mechanically, what do you think? It's interesting that you can cast a spell from the other creature space. It's probably the main use of this.
maybe I mean, it's a +5 to perception eventually, right? That's
Yeah, that's
not
also pretty
bad.
good.
I mean, if you literally just look at this as a +5 to perception, then I guess it's like good as or better than some of the other ones.
Yeah,
Great Old One gets telepathy. Fiend gets you gain temporary hit points whenever you reduce a hostile creature to 0,
Mhm.
which is like, I don't know, you're looking at 4 to 25 at max level.
yeah.
4 at first level, 25 to max level or something. And being able to do a bit of healing as a celestial, being able to.
But I don't think we need to go over Hexblade because it's just ridiculous.
Oh yeah, I'm going to ignore Hexblade. I think
Hexblade is an
comparisons,
outlier.
Hexblade is definitely an outlier. I'm not going to make any comparisons to Hexblade.
You get the tentacles for Lurker of the Deep, and you communicate with fish.
If you literally just consider this a +5 to perception, then I think it's actually it's mechanically like decent.
Yeah, it's
For
+5
sure.
perception for
There's
an
something-
hour, which you can
You
do
cast a
5
spell
times.
from the space of the bound creature. Oh, this
It's up
is
to 100.
interesting.
It's up to 100 feet from you.
Yeah, I'm wondering like how often that a counterspell like is a really good example of that, right? You keep yourself out of range of a counterspell whilst you can counterspell someone
It's
else.
counterspell part of
Uh,
the.
I don't know if Warlocks get a counterspell. I don't
Well,
think they
yeah,
do.
they might. I think one of them do as part of their expanded spell list.
It definitely lets you play a lot safer, which is good because you can just literally cast everything. You can cast every Eldritch Blast you do from that creature space, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think like you have to suffer the effects of like disadvantage on the attack roll, making a ranged spell attack from within 5 feet of a.
Yeah, because the creature is themselves are not making that attack. You are. It just happens to go through them.
But what? I actually do quite like the flavor of this vessel because the vessel is the spellcasting focus, but even more so than other warlock things where it's like, okay, the patron's giving you a portion of their power, you can willingly cast spells as you see fit, and you channel that through whatever focus you've got. This is specifically like the spells are coming from the focus because the genie, if not them being literally inside it, they can like express their willpower through it.
Yes.
And when you bind yourself to another person, it's like the genie's just casting everything for you. And
Yeah.
either you're casting from you or they're casting from the other person. It's like the other person is like almost equal to you, I guess.
You could 100% play with this as basically you are nothing. You are just the vessel carrier.
Yeah, exactly.
All
Yeah,
the
yeah.
power is coming. You are basically carrying this genie around, and he's doing all the work for you, and you're just
Yeah,
collecting
yeah.
the stuff for him because he does. Because for whatever reason, he can't leave the plane. He's doing whatever. He's just having fun, you know.
Oh, I mean, like genies are like typically. I don't know. Again, uh, D&D lore, but genies are like they're bound, right? They are like servants in a way. Like that's the whole reason they have to give wishes, right? Um, so like them being unable to leave their plane or something like that would make a lot of sense as well. But yeah, no, I really like that idea because I don't think any other warlock really comes out of the box with that flavor, right?
No, yeah, the rest of
You can definitely change it to be that, but I don't think anything else does.
yeah.
Like,
You can just imagine a character which is basically just a basic like archaeologist or something, just carrying around a lantern,
yeah.
and then that lantern is just firing off spells.
And the lantern the whole time is just like, okay, I need you to go ahead and like join yourself up with these other people. And the warlock the whole time is like, yeah, all right, I'll do it.
Yeah.
You say, don't, because I belong to you now or whatever, you know.
But it's more
You've
just like
collected me.
chances are you found this lantern, and then suddenly you like this thing in the lantern is helping you defeat your enemies, finding your treasure, and then it's just like if you do what I say, there's more where that came from. You're just like, yep, absolutely.
I suppose. I also like the idea of kind of being a slave to it, but I guess that is a little different because genies obviously are usually supposed to the other person's supposed to be their master, I guess. So it doesn't really. It's just you made a pact with the genie.
Yeah, I don't think.
So they're not. You're not claiming ownership over them. Neither are they explicitly claiming ownership over you here. But
no.
you're working alongside one. No, it's interesting. I could definitely see myself playing someone who is like literally just there's a charismatic person with no magical ability at all, but they're being told what to do by the creature in this lamp.
Yeah.
And they feel compelled to carry out as well. Especially if there is something in it for them as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that is kind of often the relationship between people and genies anyway, right? I don't know.
I guess that's also one of the things with Warlock in general is there's something in it for both parties, which is I think where the kind of interesting stuff you do in the game comes from, where you know there's something in it for both of you. What happens when you realize that you can do something without them? Like what happens when the relationship between you and your patron dwindles, or in fact actually gets more ignited? What happens when you realize that your patron is the only thing that can actually help you, or maybe you're going so deep into the, I don't know, your patron has such a hold on you now that you would feel helpless without them, like almost like drugs, like you become an addict, or you realize you don't need them, that kind of thing. Like you suddenly realize that the relationship is unbalanced. I think that's where I think the interesting things about Warlock comes from. It's that relationship, and when that relationship becomes unbalanced. But you don't have to do that. Like we say, like that's not part of the rules. There's no like rule saying, oh, if you do, when the balance of your relationship with the patron turns into this, suffer blah. Like that's all something you have to come up with yourself.
Yeah, I guess it is. I think it does specifically say in the Paladin there, like if they break their tenants, then something might happen.
Yes, there is like an extra. Let me see if I can find
Double
it.
check.
There's an extra little caveat about it. Says something like breaking your oath. The paladin tries to hold the highest standards of conduct, but even most virtuous paladins is fallible. Sometimes the right path proves too demanding. Sometimes the situation calls for the lesser of two evils. Sometimes the heat of the emotion causes a paladin to transgress his or her oath. A paladin who has broken a vow typically seeks absolution from a cleric who shares his or her faith, or another paladin in the same order. The paladin might spend an all-night vigil in prayer as a sign of penitence, undertake a fast or similar act of self-denial. After a rite of confession and forgiveness, the paladin starts fresh. If a paladin willingly violates his or her oath and shows no sign of repentance, the consequences can be more severe. At the DM's discretion, an impenitent paladin might be forced to abandon this class and adopt another, or perhaps take the Oathbreaker paladin option.
But is there anything like that for the Warlock?
I don't
Is there a similar flavor text anywhere?
Let me have a look.
Again, it's still just flavor, but it's a little more enforced at least, right?
Not that I can... Oh, what's that? No, that's looking in the deep. Can't see anything.
Yeah, interesting.
It's something that would be nice for them to include.
Yeah.
Like, very similar,
A little.
your patron does have some modicum of control over you.
Yeah.
And if you deny him, he can actually cause you problems, much like a
I feel
god
like
could.
the relationship between most patrons, and this isn't like explicitly like a mechanics thing, or even the way the flavor is written in these, but maybe just from my experience of the people that we've played with who play Warlocks, the patron always seems like they're behind a curtain somewhere, and you don't really see them come up very often. They don't. I don't feel like they have in the same way that clerics with their god a lot of the time. I don't feel like these warlocks often have a very close personal relationship with their patron, especially Great Old One. Like, I think that's just a given to the point that like your Great Old One might be completely unaware of your existence in the first place. It even says that in the flavor text for it. But like, how often are you communicating with your patron?
Yeah.
I think the genie, if you're literally holding something which may or may not actually contain the genie in the first place, that you can have a very close personal relationship with this patron.
Yeah, I think it's
or at least the implications say.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where, yeah, the relationship between you and the patron is something that you would have to explore yourself rather than being forced to. And I think the Noble Genie one allows you to have a little bit more structure around how that works. Like, you can just, you've got an item there that potentially has the genie in it. It's not like the Great Old One where it's this thing in another plane with 1,000 mouths, like
that's beyond our comprehension.
Beyond comprehension, or it's something in the Feywild that can flitter in and out or something, or it's a celestial, almost godly thing. This thing is actually like potentially in your hand,
and it can have very understandable wants and desires as well.
Yeah.
Much like a fiend does too.
Yeah. I guess that's the thing. The difference between really a warlock and a cleric is clerics and paladins. They are loyal to gods. These creatures that are patrons, they're not immortal necessarily. Probably not. They're powerful, but they're not immortal. They're not infallible. They're not all-knowing. Like, you could go behind your patron's back because they might not be watching all the time, unlike a god. Like, time, I would think that time for a patron probably isn't like, a god can like see everything and see through time and stuff. Like, that's kind of the thing that makes gods so like.
I'm not sure if the gods are immortal in like most D&D settings.
They're immortal as far as like, it's super difficult to kill them.
Sure.
But I mean, Ifriti are in the monster manual, and they're like CR10.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It is, and it's like, you as a cleric commander, you're kind of aware that your god pretty much sees all. Just as that's kind of your belief. Where with a patron, that's not necessarily true. That's something you can either decide or not. You could probably go and kill your patron a lot easier than you can kill your god.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. I think a lot of warlocks want to play that as well, right? They want to play that out when they overcome their patron.
I think that's why people probably lean towards warlock than the other.
It does kind of come with its own story motivation a lot of the time.
Which I think is what makes warlock a bit more interesting. Whether that actually ever comes up is different. I know that with I think Liam swapped from warlock to bard and nothing seemed to happen, and then we stopped playing anyway. So maybe that would have been something we explored.
I mean, the session he swapped to bard was the last session we played. So.
I think it's one of those things where I think if you want to do something like that, it's going to be really difficult. And that should be like, there should be like something more interesting involved when you're playing a warlock and your relationship with your patron, because that's kind of all there is. Sorry, that's a big deviation again. I guess warlock is a very just interesting class to think about in general, just because of how, I guess, unique it is. Like, it's not getting its powers from something obviously powerful necessarily. It's powerful, but not like godly. It's not martial. You're not getting your powers from magic, like from the weave or whatever. There is a physical, probably potentially physical, like actual thing that is giving you powers as a gift, and it can be mad at you. And it could be, it could be kind, it could be mad, it could be like, it could want more from you, it could want less from you, and its motivations can change. Like, a god is pretty much like, you've got all this.
Are often, a lot more better understood as well.
Yeah, you've got all this lore around a god about what they want. Like, Tiamat wants, war and stuff. Helm wants to protect people. Like, Helm isn't going to suddenly turn around to all of its followers and go, I want something different. Unless that's a big story in your world. Maybe that's where the difference is. Like, with a god, lots and lots of people are going to pray to that god. The patron, you could be its only
Yeah,
charge.
it's more of a personal.
It's a one-to-one personal relationship where
Yeah.
it and you are not infallible.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Sixth level feature.
we should talk about the 6th level feature. We're already quite a ways in. Your patron grants you protection from an element.
Yeah, we're on the second ability already.
Whenever you finish a long rest, you gain resistance to acid, cold, fire, or lightning. Your choice till the end of your next long rest. Probably to do with your patron, the type of genie. When the tether of your collector's vessel is active, the tethered creature also gains that resistance.
That's pretty good, actually. I think, again, on the face of it, maybe it doesn't seem crazy good. I think protection from an element is always really good, especially if you can change it per day. Like, often, I think it's one of the a lot of these features that you can change per day. You're just not going to know ahead of time. I think you can. A lot of the time, you can probably guess whether or not you're going to be suffering acid, cold, fire, or lightning damage. Right? Like, if someone says, "Oh, there's a bounty to go and kill some demons in a cave," you can be like, "Oh, okay, well, do these demons use fire-based attacks or acid-based attacks? All right, I'll take resistance to that." And you get it twice as well. You get it in 2 people. That's super good.
Yeah.
Especially like what is protection from energy? Yeah, protection from energy is a really good 3rd level spell. Concentration for 1 hour gives a creature resistance to a damage type.
Yeah.
And you get this twice for the whole day. And you can swap it because you can swap the tether, right? How much effort is it to swap the tether? Can you do it at any time?
It is lasts an hour.
Oh, it lasts for an hour anyway.
Until you use a feature on another creature. So you basically get up to 5 uses per day.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
If you enter a
5 uses per
dungeon,
day.
you attach it to your tank or to the person in the front line. 1, you now have extended range on spells.
Yeah.
2, that person now has resistance to whatever resistance you want.
Yeah.
Again, one thing I guess here is like the flavor again with the genie. Like fire is obviously going to be doing with the fiery ones. Cold is probably water. Lightning, air, acid, rock. I don't know. Acid seems to be the little one.
I mean, like you can gain any resistance from any of these elementals. And the fact that they're so an elemental playing in the first place, it would make sense that they can give you things like protection from limits, I guess.
Yeah.
Protection from energy. Compared to other subclasses, it's pretty good. The Celestial one gets resistance to radiant energy, but then they can also add the charisma modifier to radiant or fire damage spells. Well, that's definitely the better part of that. But still, resistance to radiant isn't nearly as good as these ones, and these ones can change, and you have it on 2 people.
Yep.
What does like Great Old One? You can make an attack. You can impose disadvantage on an attack roll against you, and if it misses, your next attack roll against the creature has advantage. And you can do that once per short rest.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of these things aren't that crazy impactful.
When you make an ability check, saving throw, you can use this feature at D10 once every short rest. So you get D10.
Yeah. And the Misty Escape from the Fey one, you can turn invisible as a reaction when you take damage.
And teleport to 60 feet.
Yeah, and teleport to 60 feet.
That's not bad.
It's a good ability on a short rest for sure, but like, I also don't think any of them are like crazy impactful.
You get 2 as a lurker.
No, it's this one.
Do you get 2 as this? No. You get 2 as for the Lurker of the Deep, which is another UA.
You get 2 10th level features.
You get 2
as this one though.
Oh, right, you get 2 6th UA. You get to breathe air and water, swimming speed equal to your walking speed, resistance to cold damage, and you can grasp with the tentacle you get at the 1st level.
Yeah, I think this is pretty much in line with a lot of those.
Sorry, you use your reaction to reduce damage by half on someone, and then the tentacle vanishes. So it's basically just end the tentacle that you summon from your 1st level thing to reduce a creature's damage by half.
Yeah.
To reduce a damage, if one of your friends gets damaged, you can reduce that by half.
Yeah.
Which I think is good as well.
So you do get resistance the whole day, but your vessels only get it
for the 1 hour.
5 hours a day, basically. I guess, right? I didn't realize that the perception checks only work. The +5 to perception is only when you're telling someone. So if you're on the road, probably not likely to benefit from that. And if you're in a dungeon, maybe you are.
Because the other thing as well,
not quite as good as I had originally stated.
You're probably going to be like, it's probably someone else who's going to have probably 5 more perception than you anyway, and then you could just assist them and they get advantage. Little gamey, I guess. But,
yeah. Everyone makes perception checks at some point, right?
Protective Wish. Here we go. Wishes. Here we go. You're now able to use your collector's vessel to wish for protection for yourself and your tethered creature. If you or the tethered creature is hit by an attack, you can use your reaction to teleport, swapping places with the creature and switching which one of you is hit by the attack.
Pretty good for you.
Yeah.
You're probably not going to use to someone else unless they're like really fucked.
Yeah. How about this for flavour? Right.
Mm-hmm.
You and another player, so maybe me and you, for example. One of us
Yeah.
plays this warlock. One of us plays like a fighter or a barbarian or something.
Uh-huh.
And essentially, you're the carrier of the vessel, and
Yeah.
you are like the speaker of the genie,
Mm.
and I'm part of the cult. I'm
I
protecting
like
you.
that a lot.
You know therefore you would always be tethering to me because I've like also given myself to the genie.
Yeah, I love like duo characters that both share like a background in some way.
Yeah.
And when they mechanically like support that symbiosis sort of thing going on.
We ever done a duo character? I don't think we ever have.
I don't think we have. I don't think we should. Like a zealot barbarian would work really well with that,
Yeah.
right? Even if it's radiant damage, I guess. But like,
You could be favorite.
I guess this is a good ability. I really don't think it's going to come up that often, to be honest. But it's definitely a nice ability, and you can swap who's hit. Like if you know that the paladin or the fighter or the barbarian or whatever is going to get killed by an attack, you can go in and tank one for them.
Yeah.
And then how often can you use this? Literally any time, right?
It's a reaction. Use your reaction.
Oh, okay, yeah. So literally any time as a reaction.
So what you could do, you could swap them out, get them healed, and then swap them back in for the next attack.
Now, if you are hit by an attack, what does it say? If you're hit by an attack, you swap who is hit. It doesn't say. I think if you get hit and you've got 11 AC and you swap in the paladin who's got 19 AC, I think they still get hit.
Yes.
Because it doesn't say if the original attack would not hit the new target, then it misses.
Yes, I think that's right, because otherwise it would be like.
Yeah. It would specify, I think.
And I think that makes sense because suddenly suddenly you get thrust and swap places with someone, and then you get hit, and you're like, "What the hell happened?" Like,
I agree.
Chances are, even the fact that like the other guy's bigger than you that you swap with, and so they teleport into the sword, so they're already staffed.
Yeah, I mean, that could happen too.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
I think it's good.
I don't think it's gonna come up that often.
No.
And really, when they're like super situational abilities, even if they're like are useful when they're useful, they're still like sometimes it's just too situational.
Yeah.
To be good.
Put it this way: you're not going to be going back to the blade with this subclass. You
probably not.
Probably not. You're probably going to go maybe book or chain. I don't know which one.
I mean, you can say that. You can say that from most warlocks in the first place.
Yeah, it's true.
They get 2 features at level 10, whereas most classes don't. So
yes. So what's the other one? Genie's Entertainment. As an action, you attempt to send a creature you can see within 90 feet to your patron's court. The target must succeed on a charisma saving throw against your warlock spell save DC, or be magically drawn into your vessel and teleported to your patron's court in the elemental planes. While there, the target is stunned, and your patron marvels at the target with amusement, but brings no harm to it. The target can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, reappearing at the space it left, or in the nearest starting space if that space is occupied on success. Once you've used this feature, you can't use it again to finish a long rest. If the target remains in your patron's court for a minute, the genie sends the target back at the end of its turn, as if it's successfully saved, and you regain the use of this feature.
Really interesting. I love the idea that you put someone into your vessel and your genie friends just like dabbing on them while they're in there. No, the really interesting thing about it is you can use it once per day, but if they fail every save for 1 minute, you get the feature back.
Yeah, because there's ways of making people weak to charisma saving throws.
Ultimately fail saving throws, I guess.
Yeah.
Also, like if you do this to like an animal,
Yeah.
they're probably gonna fail it anyway, right?
Yeah,
That's a really cute animal. A lot of creatures have really low charisma.
the thing with creatures I find is they're either really low or really high. You're not getting the dragon in there. That's one thing.
Yeah. Sorry, if I said creatures, I meant beasts specifically. Yeah. What's your DC at this level? Your DC is going to be
17, 18?
9? Yeah, 17. Yeah, 17 probably. Unless you've got like, I guess you don't really get many things that boost your spell save DC. 17 on a charisma save, and like a beast has like -4 or something. A lot of things can't make this spell save DC, right?
Also,
that's pretty good.
Also, the flavor is just amazing. It ties into everything we've said about the fact that you're carrying what is essentially a portal or a way into the elemental plane, and you're using this to it's basically a Pokeball, But inside the Pokeball is a genie who goes, ha ha ha, look, it's a deer, for a minute, and goes, okay, you can go now. I'm bored of you now.
Hmm.
Um,
I'm gonna like quickly check how many creatures have 2 or less charisma. Can I check that easily?
yes, there is a way to do that.
Charisma 2. I don't know if there's a way for me to check it easily, but
There is.
Here I see. Okay, 2, 1 to 2 charisma.
Anything
There's a
close?
lot of things. Yeah, loads of things are like 1 charisma.
Me.
Golems, animated armor, any animated object,
Oh yeah, that's true.
crabs, fish. Yeah, a lot of constructs do. Oozes do. A lot of plants do. Constructs, oozes, plants. Some beasts as well. And like anything that has 2 or lower charisma automatically fails every saving throw.
Yeah.
Because they just can't meet your spell save DC at that point. And as your spell save DC gets better, and what does it get to at its max? I guess another +2 on it, so it gets to 19 at max. Then anything that has -2 to charisma, anything that's -2 to charisma can't make it. And that's 6 charisma or less. There's a lot of things that have that. Every beast, undead, construct, plant, ooze are all gonna automatically fail that at max level. So you can use it like every fight.
Yeah.
You can just I'm gonna go pop the let me scroll through some of these. The undead cockatrice, and just shove him in the lamp.
It's just one of those things.
CC is really good.
Yeah, you just got to remember as well, like, you do the fight and then you got to be like, okay, give me 30 seconds, and then you have to carry on the fight. But just imagine, like, you're doing this, and everything you send in, the genie's like, oh, this is great. You could even, if you're a really nasty DM, have the will of the genie depend on if they get sent out early, which would be really interesting. I know it's not what it says in the flavor, and it might be a little mean, but you could be like you've sent me one of these. I don't want one of these. Send it back.
Yeah, I guess so.
Or maybe not send it back. Maybe let it stay there for the minute. But essentially, like if you are doing quite an in-depth relationship with the genie, have the genie be happier or sadder with you depending on what you give it. So I've seen 20 undead cockatrices now. Give me something new.
Like if your player is okay with it, and like your genie is, if you've pissed off your genie or something like that, then I could definitely see releasing something early that shouldn't have been.
Even don't release it early, but just have the relationship change. Even if you want to not nerf this ability.
Yeah.
But again, that's part of what makes
like
Warlocks fun. You can just start fucking with your players. Any of my players who are watching, who I DM for, clearly you shouldn't make a Warlock with me because I'll just fuck you about.
It is a flavorful feature. It's one of the most flavorful ones in this, I would say. Being able to like put something into your genie's court. I mean, I guess this does explain the thing we're talking about. Drawn into your vessel with a teleported to the patron's court in the elemental plane. So that's what your vessel is. It's like it's a portal. It's a portal to your patron's court. Yeah, it's incapacitated. It can't take. I think that means it can't take actions and stuff. So it's just stuck in there. And as an action, being able to, in some cases, guaranteed CC something for a minute, and other cases like CC them for a decent amount of time.
Right.
And a lot of CC can be like broken by other things. I guess at 10th level, what kind of spell level are we looking at 10th?
5th or 6th.
5th. It's 5th for Warlocks. I don't know what it is for.
I think it's 5th for everyone. I think they get 6th level at level 11. So.
Yeah, so 5th level. I don't really know 5th level spells that well. No. But this seems like it's like an extra spell, which is like what you want anyway.
Yeah.
Like, and in terms of like, it's like a good spell. It's definitely a good use of your action, I think.
Yeah. Final one here. I first had a quick read through it while we were talking, and this one looks really cool. Collector's Call.
I was going to say we should probably talk about the other 10th level abilities that other things get to see.
Sure. Yeah.
But even so, like even looking over them, I don't think it matters because those ones are both good enough, I think.
Yeah.
And the fact that there's 2 of them too.
Yeah. You get some good stuff in the other ones. Yeah, I think it's at least on par. If we have a bit more in depth, we could probably say if they're really good. The Undying one, you age slower. And you can hold your breath indefinitely, which is interesting.
Your mind can't be read by telepathy unless you allow it. You have resistance to psychic damage. Whenever a creature deals psychic damage to you, you deal the same amount back to it. That's otherworldly. Fiends get resistance to any type of damage that they want, but damage with magical weapons or silver weapons ignores the resistance. But I think this is arguably better than.
Yeah.
So it's decent. It's strong. I think. Collector's Call.
Collector's Call. In exchange for extending your patron's influence over the multiverse, you can call on more of their power. As an action, you can implore your patron for aid by making a Charisma Persuasion check against your Warlock spell save DC. If the check succeeds, you can choose one of the following effects. A creature you can see within 60 feet of you regains 8d6 hit points and ends one disease afflicting it: blinded, charm, deafened, frightened, paralyzed, poisoned. A creature you see within 60 feet of you has disadvantage on attack rolls and saving throws until the start of your next turn. You cast the Legend Lore spell without material components. When the check succeeds or fails, you can't use this feature again until you finish a long rest. Alternatively, you can regain the use of this feature by sacrificing non-magical treasure worth at least 500 gold to your patron. This sacrifice requires the treasure to be within 10 feet of you for at least a minute, at the end of which you use the action to teleport the treasure to your patron's realm, provided you have the vessel of your collector's vessel in hand.
This is the best feature, the most interesting feature at least. The flavor of it is so good.
This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, this is what I want from a subclass, and this is what I want in terms of like completely integrating the flavor with mechanics, and this is great.
Yeah.
In terms of how powerful of a feature it is, that's probably pretty good. Like 86 hit points. How much is that on average? There's no way of knowing.
Same as a
8
fireball.
times 3.5. So it's same as a fireball. 28 hit points at 14th level. And what is this? As an action? As an action, yeah.
And end stuff.
And end a condition on it. A creature has disadvantage on attack rolls and saving throws until the start of the next turn.
So
They're
your
not
next
crazy
turn.
strong things until the start of your next turn. They're not crazy strong.
Legend Lore, I guess, is quite interesting.
But once a day, Legend Lore is interesting, especially since it has a material component. So you're basically saving money on that.
Mm-hmm.
And Legend Lore is a really good spell. Like if you want to know about shit in general.
Yeah. This is cool. Whether or not it's like actually strong, it's
it's very cool.
It's very much in the vein of what we were talking about in terms of like the relationship with your patron, and this is actually giving you a in rules way to interact with your patron and actually get stuff out of it. For 500 gold, you get this back. Like,
if I was to homebrew this, I'd probably add like another 10 things that you can ask the patron for, and then I'd also say like, okay, you can ask for additional things as well, and depending on like what the persuasion is and stuff, like you can probably get them to do other stuff. Maybe not as powerful as the things listed even there, but like
it's basically like the way the wish is read. It's like you can do these things or anything you can think of, like that. But the anything you can think of is not wish level. It's like, could you get me a hot dog?
And again, if you ask for something that's not on the list, and there's a chance that they'll just like do the opposite or something like that.
They'll fuck with you. Exactly. Yeah. I think that's one of the things. It's like if these whether it's succeeds or fails, you have to wait till a long rest. Like if these things, if you fail to convince them, you just get a no answer. If you ask for something else, the no answer should mean bad thing rather than just doesn't happen.
Well, I mean, not even necessarily a bad thing happens, but like your patron mocks you or something like that, or laughs at you, and the whole time you're trying to do the task that you're asking him for help with, he's just like pissing himself laughing and dabbing on you.
And then suddenly you get disadvantage on the task you're trying to do, or something like that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, again, if you want to fuck your players over,
which I always do.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I feel like mechanical punishments are.
No, I guess just him dabbing on you is good enough.
Unless again you're also willing to add even more boons and benefits as time comes. It's cool. I like it. I mean, you can just like over time and increase like what the patron does for the player as if you'd given them a magic item that can do some similar stuff. Like you could even treat this 14th level ability as if it was that coat of patches or whatever it is.
Yeah,
right?
the
just say like
cloak of useful items.
Yeah, we could really do with a rope right now. Can you? I wish for a rope, and like have him make, especially like 500 gold pieces worth of non-magical treasure. If you say like, hey, I need something that's worth 500 gold pieces. I guess I don't know like all the other spells. Maybe like creation does that in itself. You can create.
I think it does.
Mundane objects.
500.
Okay, fair enough. So I mean, like having access to creation for 500 gold pieces as well, I think would be like a pretty simple thing. Although you do already have it on your spell list, to be fair.
The weird thing is, actually, I know it scales with you because you're probably gonna have persuasion with your what's it called? Not expertise. What's the low proficiency? You're going to be proficient in persuasion, so you're going to be getting a proficiency bonus. But it's the fact that it scales with your own spell save DC, so it gets harder as you level up.
It is interesting. Actually. I hadn't thought about that. It does get harder as you level up.
It gets harder as you level up, but also because you're.
Well, no, it only gets harder.
It's only going to get harder.
The same, right?
Yeah, it's only going to get harder because of your.
I've
forgotten the word again immediately. What happened?
Proficiency.
It's going to get harder because of your proficiency, but that proficiency increases the spell save DC and increases your persuasion. So it's going to scale linearly. It's always going to be the same. So
it's always going to be the dice roll is always going to be the same.
Yeah.
But you don't get better at it as you get better.
Yeah. Which I think actually that's pretty cool. Basically, the genie's just like, I don't care how much better you're getting as a person. Our relationship stays like, the persuasion you have to roll to persuade me is going to be the same, whether you're, 14th or 20th, which I think has some interesting ramifications as well. I mean, if you don't have, if you don't give yourself proficiency in persuasion, then you're just kind of fucked.
Quick look at what the other subclasses get at this level.
Quick cheeky overlook.
Oh, I had never read this far in a lot of these subclasses before, but the Great Old One has a very cool one.
Which one's that?
You can use it as an action. You can touch an incapacitated humanoid and then charm them until the remove curse spell is cast on them. It's called Create Thrall.
Oh yeah.
And you can telepathically communicate with the charmed creature as long as you two are on the same plane of existence. Like if you go into a shop and beat someone up, you can have a permanent charm on that person forever and just leave them in that city.
This is the I guess the cool thing. Like you at level 14 for Great Old One, you become almost like a cult leader.
Yeah, exactly.
Hurl Through Hell is just a cool name.
It is.
You hit a creature with an attack. Use this feature to instantly transport target through the lower planes. At the end of your next turn, the creature returns to its space, previously occupied. If the target is not a fiend, it takes 10d10 psychic damage. But it's every long rest. So it's just a funny spell, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's also pretty flavorful. I guess the other subclasses I've done at least those two have done a good job at what you get. What does Fae get? That's one of the other PHB ones, right?
Which one's that? Dark
and failed
Delirium?
save if a creature is charmed or frightened for 1 minute until your concentration is broken. Until the solution ends, the creature thinks it's lost a misty realm, the appearance of which you choose. That one doesn't seem too good. That seems like a much lower level spell.
It's finished on a short or long rest, though. Compared to some of the others.
I guess.
I always go back to Lurker in the Deep, just because I really like it. This one, you call upon your patron for aid. You choose a point within 30 feet where your patron tears through reality, manifesting a measure of its thalassic grandeur. Choose one of the following effects to issue from this manifestation point. You can either, you and up to 5 winning creatures of your choice within 30 feet of the manifestation can teleport somewhere to your choice within 100 miles that you have visited within the past 24 hours. You basically just get yanked by a tentacle through somewhere, and then you appear 100 miles away, potentially.
Honestly, compared to them, I think the Genie one's actually pretty weak mechanically. Although it's very nice flavorfully. Yeah, I think, like we both said, we'd probably homebrew this to give it more options as well.
You can also, with the Lurker Deeps, can also make it do hit up to 5 creatures within 30 feet of it. They make a dex save. On a fail, they take 6d10 cold or lightning and are knocked prone. Which is also good. Basically a AoE 6d10 knock prone.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
30, I guess a 30-foot radius as well, which is quite nice. Or you can teleport. I know. Like when we get to the end of these, we say, would we play one of these? I would say not straight away because I want to play Lurker of the Deep Warlock first. But I think I would play. I think if you told me I couldn't do that, I would probably play one of these.
Honestly, I came into this not really liking this, but as we've discussed it, I kind of realized it's actually more flavorful than I thought it was. I kind of didn't really understand how the mechanics support the flavor, but no, I guess I do get it more now.
I think I would have to read more into the genies in D&D, how they work.
Sure.
To get an idea of how
we're all playing homebrew campaigns anyway, and I don't think any of our campaigns actually have established what a genie is like to begin with. So we can make it our own.
We can make our own stuff, but it is quite nice to just use the player's handbook because all the monster manual, just because it's there.
For inspiration, especially. Yeah.
Like I've made my own gods up, but I also use gods from various places.
Yeah. I think I might play this if I had to play a warlock. I mean, I don't think I'll ever play a Hexblade just because it's a little too.
Hexblade. The problem with Hexblade is it's just too good.
Yeah.
Um,
I also like. Yeah, I like the idea of this one a lot. Actually, I also like it as a charisma caster as well because I always find it difficult with a lot of these where I'm like, well, especially the Great Old One. I'm like, and I think that's the Great Old One is what a lot of people first think of when they think of a Warlock as well. It's so strange to me that the Great Old One is charisma based. I feel like they should be int based. Like,
yeah, I guess when you think of like someone
they
who
should be the int based subclass.
you think of like Cthulhu, and you think of like a learned man like researching something,
Yeah,
slowly going mad.
going through these
You're thinking of
libraries.
Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah, basically.
Hexblade, I guess you could argue, is charisma based purely because it's like, like
Hexblade is whatever. Who cares about Hexblade?
Yeah, that's true.
The Fiend makes sense. They're like entering a pact with the devil.
Yeah.
I get even with
making a deal with
well,
the devil,
maybe.
like you can be a kind of, I guess, like a something like a gambler or something, like a charismatic gambling nomad or something who makes a deal with the devil. Lurker in the Deep, I guess. I guess the other part of this is like charisma isn't just like you're a cool guy. It's also you have a way with people and a kind of sway. You could be a mysterious person and have high charisma, right? So this kind of like guy who seems to be able to speak with fish, who can like talk on the water, breathe on the water, has this kind of aura of mystery around him. That's where I guess the high charisma comes from. Whether that translates well into the game, because one of the problems as well is when you have high charisma, you're kind of also expected to be the face.
Yeah.
Warlocks aren't very good at being that.
Well, it depends on the Warlock, I suppose.
Yeah,
right?
like a Genie Warlock, I think would be very good at being the face.
Well, I like the idea of like almost both playing the genie and the character as this. Like you can say like, especially like the spellcasting stuff, where it's not you can say it's not your character choosing to cast the spells; it's the genie making those choices to cast the spells. Or like if you need to care about think about what your character wants to do in the moment. If your character is like completely loyally dedicated to your genie, which they're not necessarily, obviously, it's like a pact and it's supposed to be a symbiotic thing going on. But you could play it like that, and you could say like basically any decision your character is making, they've consulted the genie beforehand, and it was the genie's wish.
Yeah.
For that to be done.
There's also something about this character where you could kind of also play it like you're luring people with this magical item, and you're like you're saying, oh, this ring is so magical, look at it, and that's how you convince people to do stuff. With your genie kind of telling you like,
what would you use as your vessel?
Out of those 6, or come up with a different one?
Anything, yeah.
I like the ring because that's always like quite an interesting one with like quite a nice gem in it. The hollow statuette. It's kind of a weird one. If you could really weird one, which you might not get. You could use the urn, and you could be pallbearer, and the urn is the Undertaker's vessel.
You're correct. I would not get that.
So it's not a wrestling thing. Although urns are pretty cool, kind of in general. I wouldn't use an oil lamp. I wouldn't use an oil lamp. I wouldn't use a lamp because that's very much it's a little on the nose.
Yeah.
Like, can we think of any?
I'm not sure what I would use.
Can we think of any like that aren't in that list? Snuff box.
Yeah. I suppose. Some sort of vessel.
And like a music box.
Yeah, a music box would work.
Because then you open the music box, and as it kind of turns and makes the music, and the sound can change every time you open it or something. And I don't know, there's something fun about that, I suppose.
It's like a decanter, but I guess that's quite similar to a bottle or a
I guess so.
Or a lamp anyway. Yeah. Well, anything else to say about the subclass or warlocks in general, or the other subclasses?
I don't think so. I think this one kind of speaks for itself, which is quite nice. And I think most of the stuff we talked about really in this episode has been about just warlocks in general more than this specifically. And the stuff we talked about, this is basically just like, yes, it's cool, yes, it works. Is it mechanically powerful? It's all right.
I don't think warlocks get a lot of their power from their subclass to begin with anyway.
Except if you're Hexblade.
It's a lot more about their...
Except if you're Hexblade.
Except for Hexblade.
But,
they're the only ones that get power.
Hexblade warlocks, ridiculous. We should have a video entirely just dedicated to why they're so ridiculous.
Yeah, I think I would play this if we did the duo character background thing. It's a shame we have not done that. Actually, we did kind of have that in our first campaign with Ben and Liam's characters were brothers that knew each other, right?
Yeah.
I think they kind of did, or at least I think Ben did a pretty good job of his relationship
Yeah.
with his brother.
We've
even
done it
if Liam
because
didn't.
Alex and DB did it with Daisy and
Oh
Jason.
yeah, dating Jason. I
But
forgot
me
about
and
that.
you have
Yeah,
never done it. But then we've always
yeah,
had.
it's surprising.
It's always been fun
Uh,
having a relationship between two usually very different characters. Like Drake and Fëanor is one of
yeah,
my favorite relationships we've had.
yeah.
Um, Nessie and Bear, there's not a whole lot going on there, but it's still quite interesting.
I guess we haven't had many opportunities. We've only had two sets of characters that have both been
It's
in the same
true.
campaign together. It's those two sets.
I think if the opportunity
Uh,
arises, we should definitely come up with some sort of duo.
yeah, yeah.
Maybe the problem
Once we kill off the characters in DB's campaign.
yeah, one of the
Uh,
problems I guess is that we probably have very different ideas of what we want to do.
Probably, yeah. But I wouldn't mind playing the genie if you wanted to play the other kind of loyalist. What would you do for that? Out of interest, just to add extra time onto
I
the
mean,
trio.
you couldn't even like. You don't even have to be a
I mean,
loyalist. You could just be hired
sure.
muscle, which
Yeah,
would be
that's true.
interesting.
I mean,
Like you might
but
not
what
actually
would
care
you want to do there?
about
In
the
terms of
genie,
character for
but
that?
this guy's come to you and said, I can get loads of treasures. I just need some protection. Here's money. It's like, well, as long as you keep paying
That
me,
is
and I'll
true.
do whatever you want.
Yeah,
That might be more of the.
an escort.
That might be more of the stuff I'd want to do. Just play a fighter.
Hmm.
That you just pay. I actually don't. I don't hate you. I don't like you. I don't not like you. I'm just like neutral.
Play a character that's like constantly trying to get gold to pay off his patron and his married muscle.
Yeah.
I've already played a character that was completely gold indebted.
That's very true. Maybe I won't do it. I guess the other thing is also just like it would probably be quite good in RP to have someone who is actually like on your side and rooting for you.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
when someone with a god says, "Oh, a genie isn't something you should be praying for," this like big muscle guy goes, "Hey, I believe in flat Earth, so watch your mouth. I believe this guy."
Yeah, I would like to play like a kind of cult leader character as well, maybe in like the Great Old One style, with another member of the party who's part of the cult. It isn't necessarily a warlock or
It's
anything with
another
mechanics
wrestling.
related to it.
It's another wrestling thing, and I apologize, but Bray
Yeah.
Wyatt, who is basically a cult leader, had a lantern. There was a lot of like Cthulhu-esque stuff around it. He had big muscly men behind him who was basically just like he commanded.
Yeah.
Which was a very cool story in wrestling until they kind of ruined it. But then he's now very honored. He's now back as a different character, and there's this new character called the Fiend carries a lantern made that looks like his own head, with like a massive gaping mouth that has the light in. That's cool. That's Warlocky. That's what I want from Warlocks. It's Bray Wyatt.
Well, is that this UA complete then?
It is.
What are we going to go next? Any announcements, or should we
Well,
discuss it?
we'll just. I guess we'll discuss it offline. But I've had a couple of days of stuff we can talk about just in general.
Sure.
There's a couple of things I want to do. One things I think were quite interesting. Whilst we're on the topic of classes and subclasses, it's kind of go through each class and say what's our favorite.
It's difficult.
It is difficult. It's very difficult,
It is
but
really
I think it'd be
difficult.
quite an interesting conversation to have. Again, the videos will probably last for ages.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you've seen how long it took us to do a single subclass.
Yeah,
Now
it's
we're going to
true.
do a full class.
Yeah, and I guess the other things we talk about, just like lessons we've learned from our campaigns, things that have gone right and wrong.
It's so difficult with that as well.
Yeah, but it is stuff that I think was
Everything, every single thing you can think of is such a fine line between
right and wrong.
underdoing it or overdoing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's plenty we can talk about. It's D&D. I mean, there's decades of history, and we've been playing it for a small amount of that, but we've definitely got enough history between us to talk about stuff, know what we like, know what we don't like.
Yeah.
And just when UAs come out, I'm sure we'll discuss them.
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming 2020 means. Sorry, second.
Are they back on a regular schedule again?
I'm not
seems like it.
sure. Possibly. I guess it's like one a month or something. Whenever the next one comes out, we'll go through those ones as well. I'm sure it'll probably be another 4 subclasses, in my guess, 3 or 4 subclasses.
Yeah.
Maybe that'd be quite interesting. We'll see.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So
Let's leave it there then.
yeah. Thanks everyone for watching. If you enjoy this, please comment, subscribe, like,
Ring the bell.
ring the bell, ding ding ding.
Top right.
By the way. And yeah, we'll be making more of these. These are fun. And that'll do.
Yeah. See ya.
See ya. Thanks for watching.